Welcome back. Today we're diving into the story of a warship that stood at the crossroads of tradition and technology, a vessel that carried the legacy of early American naval courage into the nuclear age. This is the story of USS Truxtun, a ship that was more than steel and reactors, more than missiles and radar. It was a symbol of transition, endurance, and quiet power beneath the waves. The name Truxtun comes from one of the earliest heroes of the United States Navy, Commodore Thomas Truxtun, a man known for discipline, innovation, and fearless leadership during America's earliest naval conflicts. When the Navy chose this name for a modern warship, it wasn't by accident. It was a promise that the spirit of early naval courage would live on in a vessel built for a very different kind of war. USS Truxtun was conceived during a tense period in world history. The Cold War was tightening its grip on global politics, and the oceans had become silent battlegrounds where radar, sonar, and nuclear power mattered as much as guns once did. The Navy needed ships that could stay at sea longer, move faster, and project power across vast distances without relying on traditional fuel. Truxtun was born from that need. When she was launched, USS Truxtun represented a bold step forward. She was powered by nuclear reactors, a revolutionary choice that gave her unmatched endurance. While conventional ships had to refuel regularly, Truxtun could remain at sea for extended periods, limited more by the endurance of her crew than by fuel. This capability made her a perfect escort for aircraft carriers, especially the Navy's growing fleet of nuclear-powered carriers. From the beginning, Truxtun stood out. She was sleek, complex, and advanced, carrying guided missiles designed to protect carrier groups from air and surface threats. Her radar systems scanned the skies and seas constantly, turning invisible dangers into trackable targets. Inside her hull, sailors worked in an environment that blended traditional seamanship with cutting-edge nuclear engineering. Life aboard USS Truxtun was demanding. The crew was highly trained, especially those responsible for the nuclear propulsion plant. Precision, discipline, and constant vigilance were not optional, they were essential. Every system had to function flawlessly, because in the Cold War, mistakes could carry global consequences. Sailors lived with the constant awareness that they were part of a ship designed not just to fight wars, but to prevent them through strength and presence. USS Truxtun spent much of her career operating with carrier strike groups, forming a protective shield around America's most valuable naval assets. Her mission was defense, but that defense was active and constant. She tracked aircraft, monitored submarines, and stood ready to respond in seconds if a threat appeared. Many of her deployments were long and exhausting, but they were also vital to maintaining balance in a divided world. During the Vietnam War era, Truxtun deployed to the Western Pacific, where her role expanded beyond simple escort duties. She provided radar coverage, air defense, and support operations in a complex and dangerous environment. The sea was crowded, the skies tense, and the political situation constantly shifting. Truxtun's advanced systems helped protect Allied forces and ensure operational stability in contested waters. What made Truxtun unique among her peers was her status as a kind of experiment. She was initially a single-ship class, a testbed for nuclear-powered cruiser design. The Navy learned from her successes and limitations, using that knowledge to refine future vessels. In this way, Truxtun was not just a warship, she was a teacher. As technology evolved, so did USS Truxtun. She underwent upgrades throughout her service life, adapting to new threats and new strategies. Missile systems were improved, electronics modernized, and procedures refined. Yet no matter how advanced she became, the heart of the ship remained the crew. Thousands of sailors served aboard her over the decades, each leaving a small part of themselves behind in her steel corridors. Life at sea aboard Truxtun was a mix of routine and tension. Long watches, drills, maintenance, and training filled most days. But there were also moments of quiet reflection, watching the sun rise over endless water, knowing you were part of something larger than yourself. For many sailors, serving on a nuclear-powered ship was a source of pride, a reminder that they were trusted with one of the most advanced machines of their time. As the Cold War slowly drew toward its end, the world Truxtun had been built for began to change. The threats were no longer as clearly defined, and budgets tightened as priorities shifted. Even powerful ships are not immune to the passage of time, and newer classes of cruisers and destroyers began to replace earlier designs. USS Truxtun was eventually reclassified as a cruiser, reflecting changes in Navy terminology and mission structure. She continued to serve faithfully, but the writing was on the wall. Nuclear-powered cruisers were expensive to maintain, and the Navy moved toward different platforms better suited to evolving strategic needs. When the day finally came to decommission USS Truxtun, it was a moment filled with mixed emotions. For the Navy, it was a practical decision. For the sailors who had served aboard her, it was the end of an era. Decommissioning a ship is not just about shutting down systems, it's about saying goodbye to a place that shaped lives, forged friendships, and carried countless memories. After decommissioning, Truxtun's story did not end quietly. Like many nuclear-powered vessels, her disposal was complex and carefully managed. The reactors were removed, the hull dismantled, and the materials recycled under strict controls. It was a slow, methodical process, reflecting the same discipline that had defined her service life. Today, USS Truxtun no longer sails the oceans, but her legacy remains. She helped prove that nuclear power could be safely and effectively used beyond submarines and carriers. She contributed to decades of deterrence and stability during one of the most dangerous periods in human history. And she served as a bridge between generations of naval technology. More importantly, she represents the human element of naval history. The officers and sailors who stood watch on her decks, who trusted her systems, and who called her home during long deployments carried forward the same spirit of service that defined Commodore Thomas Truxtun centuries earlier. Ships like USS Truxtun remind us that history is not only written in battles and headlines, but in daily dedication, quiet professionalism, and years of unseen effort. She was rarely in the spotlight, but she was always where she was needed, doing exactly what she was built to do. In the end, USS Truxtun was not just a nuclear-powered cruiser. She was a statement of confidence, a tool of peace through strength, and a testament to what can be achieved when tradition meets innovation. Her steel may be gone, but her story still moves across the oceans of history, steady, powerful, and enduring.